Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are doing something a little different. Usually, we take a wide-angle lens on a topic, philosophy, history, tech trends. But today, we are zooming in.
Way in.
We are zooming in on a very specific moment in time and a very specific anxiety that I think millions of families are feeling right now.
It is a heavy topic today, but, a necessary one.
It is. We are anchoring ourselves firmly in the present moment. It's February 2026.
Right.
And if you are listening to this and you are a student or maybe the parent of a student who has just been through the absolute grinder that is the Indian medical entrance system, this episode is basically a survival guide for you.
Survival guide is exactly the right phrase, because by February 2026, the dust has settled on the NEET exams, the initial shock is over.
The panic has subsided a bit.
The tears have dried, hopefully. And now, for thousands of families, there is just this looming silent question hanging over the dinner table. What do we do now?
Exactly. The panic is gone, replaced by this cold, hard reality. We are looking specifically at the landscape of medical education admissions for the 2026 intake.
Right.
And to help us navigate this, we have pulled together a really fascinating stack of notes. Our primary source is a detailed strategic discussion from a CADFly study abroad, which features a deep dive by an expert in the field, Mr. Pratik Guha.
And there is a detail in the source material that I think we need to flag right at the start.
Okay.
Because it sort of changes the texture of the whole conversation.
What's that?
This source material explicitly mentions a partnership with Physics Wallah.
Right, PW, the giant, the titan of test prep.
Exactly. Physics Wallah is a massive ecosystem in Indian test prep. They are the ones preparing these kids for NEET. They are the ones telling students to study hard, practice, and grind.
Their whole business model is built on cracking the Indian system.
Right. So when you see them powering a discussion about studying abroad, it signals a massive shift in the industry.
That's a really good point.
It suggests that the traditional coaching-only route, the idea that you just study harder and stay in India, is acknowledging that the math simply doesn't work for everyone.
So even the biggest players are admitting there's a problem.
They're acknowledging the need for a release valve.
That is a great way to put it, a release valve. So let's unpack the pressure that requires this valve.
Okay.
Every deep dive starts with a why. Why are we looking at maps of Central Asia? Why are we talking about Uzbekistan in February 2026? And the answer, unfortunately, is a brutal math problem.
It is a supply and demand crisis of epic proportions. And I don't use that word lightly. If we look at the numbers referenced in our source material for this cycle, we are talking about 23 lakh aspirants.
Let's just pause on that. 2.3 million students.
Yeah.
That is the population of a small European country.
It's unbelievable.
All showing up on the same day, writing the same exam, fighting for the same dream.
And here's the kicker. They're competing for approximately 1 lakh seats. 1 lakh total.
The ratio is terrifying.
It is. I mean, just do the math. That is roughly a 4% to 5% acceptance rate overall. But even that is misleading.
How so?
Because that includes private colleges that cost a fortune, which we will definitely discuss later. If you look at government seats,
which is what everyone is really gunning for.
It's the real price because they are affordable.
Right.
For those, the acceptance rate drops to something microscopic. It's less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Wow. And this creates what our source identifies as a danger zone. I found this concept fascinating and, frankly, a bit heartbreaking. It's not about the students who failed. We aren't talking about the kid who didn't study and got 0.
No, not at all.
We are talking about the students who did.
Okay.
Okay.
Precisely. This is the tragic middle ground. We are talking about the 80% to 85% of students who score between 300 and 400 marks.
Right.
Now, let's be clear. In a vacuum, 400 marks is not a bad score. It shows you studied.
It shows competence.
It shows you understand the Krebs cycle, you know your anatomy, but in the context of the cutoffs, it is purgatory.
Because to get a government seat in 2026, where is the bar? What kind of score are we talking about?
The bar has moved to the stratosphere. You are looking at 600 to 650 plus, realistically.
So imagine you are that student. You're sitting at 350. You are too good to just quit and open a shop. You have the aptitude, but you are too low to actually get the seat you want.
And that is where the trap opens up.
The drop year trap.
The famous drop year.
And that is the mission of today's deep dive. We are going to analyze a very specific life hack that is emerging for these danger zone students.
Okay.
We are asking, Is going abroad specifically to Uzbekistan and a place called the Bukhara State Medical Institute a viable solution? Or is it just another way to lose money?
A very important question.
We are going to look at the costs, the terrifying regulations of the NMC, and the actual reality of living there.
We are going to see if we can solve that math problem we started with.
So let's dive into Section 1, the strategic dilemma. The choice between taking a drop and flying out.
A huge decision.
I feel like taking a drop year is almost a cultural rite of passage in India. It's expected. If you don't get in, you sit at home and try again.
It is culturally ingrained, yes. It's viewed as a sign of perseverance. The narrative is, I didn't make it this time, but I have potential.
I was so close.
If I just lock myself in my room for 12 months, memorize every line of answer, I will crack it. And look, for some students, that is true.
But not for everyone.
No. And this is where the expert in our source material, Mr. Guha, introduces a very necessary, very cold splash of water.
A reality check.
A big one. He talks about a threshold, a realistic assessment of capability.
What is the number? What's the threshold?
He says if a student is 100% sure, and I mean unequivocally certain, backed by mock test data, that they can cross 650 marks in the next attempt.
If you're already scoring, say, 610, 620 in your mocks.
Exactly. If you're knocking on the door, then sure, take the drop, retake the exam, fight for that aim seat.
But if you're sitting at 300...
If you are scoring 300 or 400, the statistical probability of jumping to 650 in 1 year is incredibly low.
Right. It's not impossible, but it's improbable.
Think about it. You are talking about nearly doubling your performance. It's not just about working harder. At that level, it's about a fundamental shift in aptitude, exam temperament, and speed that rarely happens so drastically in one cycle.
That's a really tough pill to swallow for a parent or for a student.
Of course.
It's admitting that maybe the child has a ceiling. It's like an athlete trying to cut their sprint time in half in one season.
That's a great analogy.
It's technically possible, maybe, for one person in a million, but is it a strategy you want to bet your entire career on?
Exactly. And this is where we need to talk about time as currency.
I like that phrase.
It's a concept that often gets lost when you are 18 years old. You feel immortal. You feel like you have all the time in the world. What's one more year?
Right. I'm only 18. What's the rush?
But the source makes a compelling argument. Instead of spending 1 or 2 years repeating 12th grade biology, trying to memorize the same textbooks again, getting frustrated, watching your friends move on.
Seeing their Instagram posts from their first year of college?
Yes, all of that. Instead of that, you could be completing your first and second years of medical school abroad.
You are progressing. You are moving forward. You're not stuck in a loop.
You are becoming a doctor. You are 2 years closer to a salary, 2 years closer to specialization, 2 years closer to saving lives.
And there is a safety net here that many people forget.
A huge one.
The NEET score.
Your NEET scores are valid for 3 years.
Oh, right. I always forget that detail. So if you qualify, that score sticks with you.
It sticks. And here is the crucial distinction. And this is maybe the most important point for listeners in that danger zone.
Okay.
For studying abroad, you don't need that elusive 650. You just need the qualifying marks.
Which is usually what? What kind of number are we talking about there?
Contextually, it hovers around the 100 to 150 range, depending on the category and the difficulty of the paper that year.
So a tiny fraction of the score needed for a government seat.
The source emphasizes that you just need to be qualified. You don't need to be a topper.
And the academic requirement?
From high school.
You need 50% in your 12th grade PCB physics, chemistry, biology, and a qualifying NEET score.
That's it.
That's it. That opens the door to the world.
That is a massive mental shift. You go from, I'm a failure because I didn't get 600 to, I am qualified to start medical school globally.
It changes the narrative completely. It turns a rejection into an acceptance. It turns a closed door into an open plane ticket.
Okay, so let's say a listener is nodding along. They're thinking, okay, maybe I don't take the drop. Maybe I go. But then the question is, where?
The big question.
The map is huge. A decade ago, everyone talked about China. Then it was Ukraine. Now, why are we talking about Uzbekistan? And specifically, why this place, Bukhara? It is an interesting evolution of the market. You're right. The destination of choice shifts based on geopolitics, economics, regulations.
Right.
China has had issues with licensing and language. Ukraine, obviously, has the war.
Yes.
Uzbekistan has risen as a primary destination for 2 key reasons cited in our source.
Okay. Where are they?
1, it is budget-friendly, which we will definitely get to.
A big one for most families.
And 2, this is the big one, It strictly adheres to the NMC guidelines.
The National Medical Commission.
Yes.
We will get to those scary guidelines in a minute, and trust me, listeners, you want to hear that part because it is the difference between a degree and a piece of waste paper.
Absolutely critical.
But let's talk about the university itself first.
Yeah.
Bukhara State Medical Institute, or BSMI. The source ranks it pretty highly.
Top 3 in Uzbekistan. But you know me, I don't care about rankings.
Fair enough.
Rankings can be bought, campuses can be photoshopped. I care about outcomes. The metric that really jumped out at me from the CADFly discussion was the FMGE passing rate.
The FMGE. That's the screening exam you take when you come back to India, right? The big hurdle.
Correct. The Foreign Medical Graduate Examination. Historically, the pass rates for this exam are notoriously low.
I've heard horror stories.
We are talking global averages that sometimes hover around 10% or 20%. It is a graveyard for foreign degrees.
Yikes. So 80% of kids coming back used to fail?
In some years, from some countries, yes, it was a massacre. But for BSMI, the source highlights a 2024 statistic of a 48% passing rate.
Whoa, 48%.
Oh, look.
That is nearly half the class clearing it on the first go.
In the context of foreign medical graduates, that is exceptional.
It's a huge outlier.
It is noted as one of the highest in the region. That statistic is the proof in the pudding. It suggests that the education there isn't just theoretical. It aligns with what the Indian Medical Board expects a doctor to know.
It means they're teaching the right things in the right way.
Precisely.
And the source mentions the infrastructure is world-class, but I feel like every brochure says that. State-of-the-art labs, etc.
True. Every brochure says it. It's marketing speak. But the correlation with the pass rate suggests it's actually true in this case. They mention a heavy focus on practical training rather than just theory.
Which is what medicine's all about.
It's everything. And crucially, the language.
Yes, the language barrier. That is always the nightmare story, going to a foreign country and realizing the professor is lecturing in Russian or Mandarin, and you're just sitting there nodding.
And you have a translator in the corner who may or may not be getting it right.
A terrible game of telephone.
The source is very explicit here. At BSMI, the entire curriculum is English medium. There are no translators used for teaching.
So the professor at the front of the room is speaking English.
Yes. You are learning medicine in English, which is vital because ultimately you are coming back to take an exam in English and practice in a system that uses English medical terminology.
That is a huge relief. It's one less barrier to worry about. You aren't learning the word for liver in Uzbek before you learn how to treat it.
Exactly. It streamlines the cognitive load. You can just focus on the medicine, not the linguistics.
So you have a top-ranked university, a high pass rate, and English teaching. It sounds great, but, and there is always a but.
Always.
There's the regulatory maze, the National Medical Commission, or NMC.
The NMC. This is where dreams often go to die if you are not careful.
That sounds ominous.
Since 2021, the rules for studying abroad have become incredibly strict. It's no longer the Wild West where you could go anywhere, study anything, and come back.
So let's break this down, because if you get this wrong, you don't become a doctor.
You become a graduate with a very expensive piece of paper.
The expert and I are going to go through the valid degree checklist based on the source. If you are listening, imagine this is a checklist you need to tick off before you sign any check.
Absolutely. This is the don't get scammed list.
Okay, item 1, duration. What's the rule?
The course must be at least 54 months long.
54.
That is 4.5 years of pure academic study.
So no shortcuts. If a university offers you a fast-track 4-year degree, what do?
You run away, you hang up the phone. It will be invalid in India. The NMC counts the months. 54 is the magic number.
Got it. 54 months. Item 2, internship. This one is tricky.
Very. You must complete a 1-year internship at the same institute abroad.
Wait, let me clarify. At the same institute. So you can't study in Uzbekistan and then come back to India for the internship.
No. And this is a huge misconception. People think, I'll do the theory there and the practicals here.
Which sounds logical.
It does, but it's not allowed. You have to do the 12 months there, you get the license there, then you come back and do another internship in India.
It's a double internship, really.
It's a double internship, essentially, but the NMC requires that training abroad to validate the degree.
That is a crucial detail. It adds a year to your timeline, effectively. But it makes sense. You need to prove you can practice in the system that trained you.
Exactly. It's about accountability for the university.
Okay, item 3 we touched on. The course must be fully English taught.
Correct. No bilingual nonsense. The degree certificate has to state English medium.
Item 4, registration. What does that mean?
You must be registered or licensed to practice in the country where the degree was obtained. This means your degree from Uzbekistan must allow you to be a doctor in Uzbekistan.
So it can't just be a degree for foreigners that the locals don't recognize.
Exactly. It cannot be an export-only product. It has to be equivalent to what their local doctors get. If a local hospital in Bukhara wouldn't hire you with that degree, the Indian government won't license you.
That makes sense. It ensures a baseline quality control. Okay, item 5 is the return, the exam.
You must clear the screening exam FMGE or the upcoming next T exam upon returning to India. This is non-negotiable.
That's the final gate.
The final gate before you can practice.
And finally, item 6.
Entry.
The very beginning of the process.
You must meet the NEET qualifying criteria to even leave the country. You cannot bypass NEET entirely.
So does BSMI check all these boxes? Because that is a lot of hoops to jump through.
According to the expert, Mr. Guha, yes. BSMI follows these regulations rigorously.
Rigorously.
That word is important. They aren't just scraping by or looking for loopholes. They have designed their curriculum to match the Indian requirements. This ensures the degree is valid.
That is the certainty part of the equation we talk about. You are buying certainty that your degree is real.
Yes, you're not gambling on a regulatory change.
Okay, let's talk about the other part of the equation. Money. Section 4, the financials.
This is usually the pleasant surprise for people used to looking at private medical colleges in India.
Right. Because let's be real. In India, if you miss a government seat and you want to study medicine, a private seat can cost a crore.
Easily. You were looking at 80 lakhs to 1.2 crores, depending on the college and the donations.
The under-the-table costs.
It is a mortgage-level commitment. It bankrupts families. It forces parents to sell land, take massive loans. It's a huge burden on the student, too, knowing their education costs that much.
So with that number, 1 crore, in our minds, let's look at BSMI. The standard tuition fee is listed as $3,200 USD per year.
Okay, let's do the conversion. At current rates, that is approximately 2.85 lakh per year.
2.85 lakhs.
Per year.
That is less than some high-end kindergartens in Mumbai. That is shockingly low.
It is incredibly competitive. And when you add in living expenses, food, travel, flights, visas, everything, the source estimates the all-in cost for the full course to be around 30 to 32 lakhs INR.
30 lakhs for the whole degree, compared to 1 crore. That is a massive difference.
It is generational wealth preservation.
Say more about that.
You are saving your parents 70 lakhs. Think about what that 70 lakhs can do. That can fund your post-graduation.
Right, your MD or MS.
It can set up your clinic. It can buy a house. It completely changes the trajectory of your financial life.
That's a really good point. The medical journey is long. Saving money at the undergrad level gives you firepower for the next stage. You aren't starting your career with a mountain of debt.
Exactly. It gives you financial freedom later in life. You can choose a specialty you love, not just the one that pays the most to service alone.
And the source mentioned something about an early bird incentive. This seemed very specific to the CADFLY partnership.
Yes, and this is where the strategic dilemma of time comes back in. They are aggressively promoting the January 2026 intake.
Okay.
But I want to highlight the intake timing. January versus September.
Yeah, why January? Isn't the academic year usually starting in September?
It is, but the January intake is tactical. Think about where we are in our timeline, February 2026.
Right.
The previous year's NEET chaos is over. The drop year students have either settled in or are realizing they might have made a mistake. The crowds are smaller for the January intake.
So less competition for seats and attention.
And the source argues that joining in January prevents wasting a full academic year waiting for the next September cycle.
You save 6 months of your life.
You get in, you start, you stop waiting and start doing.
I like that. It's about momentum. Okay, so you get in, you pay the fees, you study, but eventually you have to leave. Section 5, the exit strategy.
And this is where the landscape is shifting under our feet. We are transitioning from the FMGE to the next national exit test.
This next T exam has been a buzzword for years. What does it actually mean for a student starting in 2026? How is it different?
It means the game is changing from memorization to application. The FMGE was often criticized for being something you could cram for.
Right, just memorize thousands of multiple choice questions.
You could memorize question banks. Next T is designed to test if you can actually be a doctor.
So clinical scenarios. Patient comes in with chest pain, what do you do? That kind of thing.
Exactly. Practical clinical knowledge. Because of this shift, the source advises starting preparation as early as the second year.
Second year. That sounds really early. You're barely out of anatomy class.
It does, but the syllabus is vast, and the new pattern requires deep subject knowledge. You can't cram it in the last 6 months before the exam. You have to build the knowledge base over years.
And this links perfectly back to why your university choice matters.
It's all connected.
If you go to a university where you never see a patient, where you never touch a stethoscope, where you just read slides, you will fail NXT.
You will fail because you can't learn clinical skills from a book.
You need to hear the heart murmur to know what it sounds like. You can't just read a description of it.
You cannot. BSMI's focus on clinical rotations and mandatory attendance becomes a competitive advantage here. You need that exposure to pass the exam. You need to have touched patients, taken histories, done the rounds.
So the practical training isn't just for learning, it's for passing the final exam.
It's one and the same. And there's a scary rule here too. The 10-year rule. Yes, a crucial regulatory detail. Students have a maximum window of 10 years to complete their degree and pass the Indian licensing exam.
So the clock starts kicking the day you enroll.
Essentially, yes. The course is roughly 5.5 to 6 years, including the internship abroad. So you have about 4 years of buffer to clear the exam. If you don't clear it within that 10-year total window, your degree is invalid in India. Game over.
That adds a serious layer of pressure.
It does.
This isn't a try as long as you want situation.
Yeah.
You need to be focused. You can't just drift for 5 years after graduating.
Which is why the expert emphasizes starting prep in the second year. You don't want to be taking risks in year 9. You want to clear it on the first shot. The system is designed to filter out those who aren't serious.
Okay, let's pivot to the human side of things. Section 6. Life on the ground. Because for all the talk of exams and money, if I am a parent sending my 18-year-old to Uzbekistan, my first question isn't, was the FMGE pass rate?
No.
It's, is my kid safe and what are they eating?
The parental worry factor. It is universal, and rightly so. You are sending your child to a country you might not be able to find on a map. The source addresses this head on.
Let's start with safety. Uzbekistan, people have preconceptions. They hear Stan and they get nervous.
They do. It's an unfair stereotype, but it exists. But the reality on the ground, according to the source, is that Uzbekistan and Russia are cited as very safe for students.
That's safer than some places in India, probably.
Probably. And specifically for campus safety, they mention separate hostels for boys and girls.
That is standard, but good to know.
But they go further. 204/7 CCTV surveillance, Wi-Fi monitoring, and specific check-in, check-out times.
A curfew.
There is a curfew.
Students might hate that, but parents will love it.
Exactly. It creates a controlled environment. You are there to study, not to party until 4 a.m. in the city. It provides a structure that I think is necessary for young students living abroad for the first time.
It's a bubble, a safe bubble.
It keeps them focused. It sounds almost like a boarding school environment.
It does, which probably provides a lot of comfort to parents.
In many ways, yes. And that structure is helpful when you are far from home.
And then the most important topic of all, food.
The culinary comforts. The source of all happiness.
I can just imagine a student landing there and missing their home-cooked meals. If you are used to spicy sambar or rich butter chicken, boiled potatoes aren't going to cut it.
Well, the source confirms the availability of both vegetarian and non-vegetarian options. They provide 3 meals a day.
That is huge. Cooking for yourself is a massive time sink and a skill you have to learn.
It is. And the key phrase used was that food is decided according to student preferences.
What does that mean in practice?
It implies an Indian menu. They have Indian cooks. You are getting your dal, your rice, your chicken curry, your paneer.
Wow. Okay, that makes a big difference. It's hard to study when you are hungry or hating the food. It sounds trivial, but it affects mental health.
Massively. And beyond food, there is the cultural integration. The source mentions a large volume of Indian students. This creates a little India ecosystem.
You are not the only outsider. You aren't the only one who looks like you or speaks your language.
Far from it. You are surrounded by peers from Delhi, from Kerala, from Maharashtra. You find your people.
And they celebrate Indian festivals.
They specifically mention the celebration of Indian festivals like Ganpati Puja, and Diwali, Holi, everything.
That's a lovely detail. Imagine celebrating Ganpati in Bukhara. It really shows that the university is catering to this demographic.
It's not just tolerating Indian students, it's welcoming them. It's building a business around them, and that means making them feel at home.
And that reduces homesickness, which is one of the biggest reasons students drop out.
If you feel at home, you stay. If you stay, you study. If you study, you pass. It's a simple chain of events.
So we have covered The strategy, the location, the rules, the money, the exit, and the life. Now, Section 7, the application process and urgency. The experts seem pretty insistent on not waiting.
There is a rush factor here, and it's not just marketing hype. He mentioned that last year saw cancellations due to high volume and late applications.
Wait, cancellations like, sorry, we're full.
Yes, or sorry, the visa processing time is now too long, you missed the window. If you wait until the last minute, systems get clogged, embassies get overwhelmed.
Right, it's not just the university, there's a whole bureaucratic process.
Exactly. So the advice is the safe and secure approach. Apply early in the January intake to guarantee a seat.
And this brings us back to the dilemma we started with. That student who's still sitting on the fence thinking, maybe I should take a drop.
The expert's resolution for that is very pragmatic.
What's the advice?
Initiate the application even if you are still considering a drop.
Keep the door open. Hedge your bets.
Exactly. It doesn't cost much to start the paperwork. But if you decide in August that you want to go and the seats are gone, you have no choice left. Don't let the opportunity slip while you are paralyzed by indecision.
That's solid life advice in general.
Yeah.
And there's a specific call to action mentioned, using the description form to book a one-on-one session.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they encourage getting personal advice, which makes sense given how complicated the NMC rules are.
You need a tailored strategy. Your 12th grade marks, your budget, your NEET score, it's all unique. You can't just use a one-size-fits-all approach here. You need someone to look at your specific profile and say, yes, this works, or no, be careful about this.
So let's wrap this up. Let's synthesize. What does this all mean? If we put it all together, this deep dive, it feels like we are solving an equation.
It is an equation of time plus money plus certainty. That is the summary.
For our listener, the learner, this isn't just about medical school. It's about strategic career planning in a hyper-competitive market.
It is. We are seeing a shift where the stigma of studying abroad is being eroded by the sheer logic of the numbers.
The math is undeniable.
You get a budget-friendly international degree. It meets strict Indian standards. We check the list. And it works, provided, and this is the big caveat.
Oh, it's a caveat.
Provided the student is willing to put in the work for the exit exam.
You can't just buy the degree. You have to earn the license.
Exactly. It's not a shortcut to becoming a doctor. It's a shortcut to starting the journey of becoming a doctor.
I love that distinction. That's a perfect way to put it. And here's a final provocative thought to leave you with.
Okay.
We talked about an English curriculum, global standards, and costs that are 1/10 of private colleges in India. In 2026, is the location of the classroom finally irrelevant?
That is the question, isn't it? If the textbook is the same, Harrison's internal medicine is the same in Uzbekistan as it is in London,
Right.
and the language is the same, and the exit exam is the same, does it matter if you are sitting in Bukhara, Bangalore, or Boston?
Maybe the geography of education is finally collapsing.
I think so. And maybe, just maybe, the dedication of the student matters more than the longitude and latitude of the desk.
I think that is a bet worth making.
I agree.
Well, that is all the time we have for this deep dive. We hope this cleared up the fog around the 2026 admissions landscape. Whether you stay or fly, good luck with the decision.
Stay curious and keep learning.
See you next time.